I may ask you just a bit of a personal question about the book and writing the book, more such the mechanics of writing a book. Obviously, you, with reflection now, and you're older than most people, I would imagine. You could say that. I think that's fair to say. And you take on this task of writing this book. What motivated you to write a book, and now? Why now?
Two things. Number one, towards the end of my life, I'm 85 years old now, I wanted my big family, and it is big. I have 22 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren. I wanted them to have a full-scale, correct account of what I was about with my life, what I was really trying to live for, and what I was trying to do as governor. They wouldn't have gotten that if I hadn't written that book. That was the first reason. The second reason was to try to have an impact, hopefully, continually on the state, on the need to change this rotten system. The Chicago Tribune calls it the endless corruption that besets Chicago and state government. Endless corruption. And I wanted to bring that out. And sure, I wanted to show how I tried to stop it. I wanted to be remembered for trying to stop that correction and for trying to restore a balance in state government.
When you wrote, when did you write? What time of day did you find you?
Well, my best times are in the morning. I'm a morning person, and so I wrote in the morning. The most difficult decision in writing this book was this: my family did not want me to write about the prison experience. They wanted me to put in a paragraph and then forget about it. But I was persuaded by a very wonderful editor, Peggy Lang, to focus on the prison experience, that people would be able to relate to the parallels between that and the difficulties I was beset with as governor. And so I started, at her behest, I started each chapter with an account of something that happened in prison. And some of those are very distasteful, very hard to write about. And then to look into my soul, as I did in writing this book, where did I go wrong? What mistakes did I make? I must tell my family what mistakes I did and face up to them. Take my own inventory, as my father taught me. Yes, bare my soul. And I wanted to do that, and I have done that. In these pages, you'll find it.
For our viewers that are not familiar with what happened, you pleaded guilty to a charge of, what was it, bank fraud? Was that the? And
that was the formal name of the principal count. I borrowed $49,000.
This was after you left the...
10 years after I left office. Had nothing to do with my being governor.
Right.
I borrowed $49,000 from a friend at a time when I could not borrow money from the S&L. So it was said that I did indirectly that which I could not do directly. Now, there was a guy who did the same thing, and his name was Neil Bush, and he's a brother of the president. And his amount was not just $49,000, it was $3 million. And the United States Attorney in Denver asked the Department of Justice, I want to prosecute him for criminal offense. And the Attorney General of the United States held a press conference and said what he did was a violation of the regulations, but it was not a criminal act. In my case, the United States Attorney did not ask anybody. He said it is a criminal act, and so he went after me. Some will call it selective prosecution. A lot of people on the streets out there come up to me and call it political prosecution, because the United States Attorney was a political enemy of mine, a buddy. As a matter of fact, he was the personal lawyer for Jim Thompson, who made very clear his dislike for me. But be that as it may, I can't read people's minds, so I can't vouch for that. All I can say is that I did make a mistake, And I paid the price for making that mistake. And that's what I believe a man should do. If you do something wrong, and I did do something wrong, call it a regulation, call it a law, I was wrong. And I paid the price, and I bore it. And it's behind me now, but some people will not let it be behind me.
You were sentenced to 7 years, I believe?
I was sentenced to 7 years.
And you served 18 months?
I served 18 months. I'm told, and I don't know, that story is in this book, I'm told that a group of former judges and businessmen, most of them black people, went to this judge, who was a black lady, and said, enough is enough. Why don't you do something about this? And she relented, and she reduced my sentence to time served, it's called, which was 18 months that I went free.
I think for someone reading the book, the positive thing is that you have this very illustrious career, very admirable career, and then there's this period where it's probably the highest of the highs and perhaps the lowest of the lows. Yes. And you've survived the whole journey. And there could be some insight in reliving that journey with you, and I think that's perhaps the value of that book. Would you agree with that, or?
Well, yeah, I think so, because it was a roller coaster life, and I think people, since I've tried to be so honest about it, it wouldn't have been a good book if I hadn't been honest, and I am honest about my successes and my failures. Laid it on the line. And I hope that people will also enjoy reading it and get something out of it at the same time.
How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the last 85 years? If you had to score yourself, how would you rate yourself for 85 years?
I add it all up. It's all summed up. My feelings inside of myself.
Right.
And what that guy said when I got on the elevator this morning, that really, really, really socked it to me in terms of my feelings when he said, "We need you back here, Dan." That was the highest point in my life. And to have people, after all these years, say that, that makes me feel that it was all worthwhile.
The name of the book is The Maverick and the Machine.
The Maverick and the Machine, and boy, I am a maverick.
Governor Walker, it has certainly been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois. If you have any comments or questions on our programming, please email us at illinoischannel@aol.com. Or if you have any questions about the Illinois Channel, please visit our website at www.illinoischannel.org.
Hi, I'm Jim DeVue. Join us for the Illinois Channel series About Illinois, as we travel about the state, uncovering our history, our people, visiting great state parks, and sharing our environmental treasures. It's About Illinois, only on the Illinois Channel.